Hi. How are you guys? How is everybody doing this evening? And how are you guys? By the way, I have Kelly from CDT and Amber, who's always on CDT, but from her channel, Amber Truth Seeker.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, I get so weird, you guys. I don't know how to start the shows. I'm awkward. And then I made that little intro, and it's like you can never get it to play as soon as you go live, so it's just awkward.
You're good.
Well, okay, I guess we can just get started then. Okay, I always ask this in the beginning because I want to, I like to gauge people's perception and stuff, how people view things. So the first thing I wanted to ask was just to tell us more about yourself, like as much as you want to, what do you like to do and all of that stuff.
Okay. Basically, my main hobby is true crime. I've always enjoyed true crime. So, I read through true crime cases and follow the news and like Facebook groups of crimes, but that's pretty much what I'm into. Other than that, I'm a mom and I just take care of hang out with my kids, and I like to garden. And yeah, I'm a very boring person, I feel.
No, that's not boring. And gardening is awesome. I love like flowers and stuff. I always like to have little flowers around, and makes you feel good.
It does.
Oh, thank you guys about my hair. What about you, Amber?
I would say that I never really considered true crime like a hobby. I didn't really even know that there was this much of a community out there, even on Facebook groups and stuff, but I'm glad I found them. I would say a hobby would be just researching. I kind of do like a little bit of everything, even beyond true crime, like, just astrology and stuff like that. Just random stuff, like even gardening. Kelly and I have a lot in common. I think that's why we click so well. So, nothing too exciting. Just live in upstate New York, boring area. I have a newborn baby. She just turned 3 months this week.
Oh, I've heard her in your, when y'all are talking, some making little baby noises. She sounds so cute.
Thank you.
I like astrology too, by the way. I think it's so interesting. I love it. And people are like, well, I don't like that. They act like it's like magic, but it's science. There's a science to it, It's really interesting.
I think so, yeah.
Now, let's see. Just trying to check the comments. Yeah, everybody loves y'all's channel. They ever since I announced that I was gonna do an interview with you guys and stuff, I've seen, thank you, Nikki, a ton of really positive comments.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, nice to hear.
Yeah, that's what the whole community is just awesome. Like the Watts and even other true crime realms, I've noticed there, even though it's such a dark subject, there's a lot of good people in it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's weird. It is a dark subject, but I think it brings people who really want to help other people, you know what I mean? And so then you find awesome people in there. So
yeah, that's a good point. It brings people who are compassionate and want justice, and so you do end up meeting good people for sure.
Yeah,
and I think it's natural also just to be curious, like that, morbid curiosity. It sounds weird and it can be weird, but I think it's natural in a lot of ways.
Yes, absolutely. So that was my next question. Do you guys watch YouTube? And not even true crime, but outside of true crime and true crime as well. But do you guys watch a lot of YouTube?
Yeah. I don't even know why we pay for cable. I guess because they told us it's cheaper for our internet source. But yeah, I haven't watched regular network television in years.
I'm the same way. I'm hooked on YouTube, even while I'm cleaning, while I'm laying around,
Yes.
at night. Can't wait to go relax and watch YouTube.
Yep, totally.
Who are some of your favorite creators? Not true crime. Big, whatever.
Go ahead, Kelly.
So this is kind of odd, but I actually found I like to watch okay. interabled couples, like one who has a disability and one who doesn't, and just watching their relation. I find relationships super interesting and just people's personalities, things like that. So I recently found one. His name is Lauren Showers, and he was 17 and was driving a forklift. He wasn't qualified to be driving, and it rolled off the side. A car illegally was passing him on the end of the bridge, and he rolled down in the forklift, tried to jump out. His seatbelt got wrapped around his leg. Anyway, he was amputated from below his belly button, and he has, he still has one arm, but one arm was amputated, and then below his belly button. So I watch them. I've actually spoken to him, but I also like cleaning channels, cooking channels. But yeah, their story is just really inspirational. So I just like to watch what they do in their everyday life. They do a lot of lives, like question and answers.
Cool.
So yeah, they're one of my favorite, and I feel like I've gotten to know them in a way now. So
isn't it weird how you feel? It's like that parasocial relationship. You watch people and you feel like you know them, but they don't really know you. I mean, sometimes so weird. By the way, I'm from West Virginia, Red Pug. What about you, Amber? What are some of your favorite channels?
I watch a lot of vloggers from the UK for some reason. I just really like seeing what it's like over there, even though it's very similar to like American life and traditions and society. I just think like the UK is just somewhere that I could see myself living if I had to. They're just like normal girls around like our age, and they vlog their everyday life. So it's just like them, their fiancés or husbands and kids, and they do like cleaning videos, and then they shop. Oddly enough, I watch American drama channels like Rich Lux. I don't know if anybody knows that. You do? Yes, I love Rich Lux.
That's funny. That's so random. I didn't like expect either of your answers. They were like, I liked it watching like interabled couples, and then I like UK vlogs.
Surprise. That's the thing, is there's many layers to Kelly and I would say.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. That's so funny.
Thank you. I love your shirt too.
Oh, thank you. It has like the 90s characters. I got it at Walmart. The men's section at Walmart, they have the best like t-shirts, like random cool little t-shirts.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
I want that shirt.
Go check it out at Walmart in the men's section.
I'm there all the time at Walmart.
Oh my gosh. That just reminded me of Chris Watts when he told Shanann, I like that shirt.
Yeah, when
the pregnancy when she was pregnant or announcing the pregnancy. That's so weird.
Well, awkward, like
Yes. You know.
So what got you guys into like making your own videos on YouTube?
You want to go first, Amber?
I mean, honestly, it just started out as like Facebook groups, and if I had a thought on the case, because my YouTube channel started with the Watts case, but so if I made a comment on the case and it got a lot of reaction, or even like, that's pretty much how Kelly and I met, was just like similarities in posts and like supporting each other's posts, because we both had like similar thoughts, even though we'd never met and not really discussed the case like in Messenger at that point. And I was just like, you know what, if I have these good ideas or people seem to have good feedback on them, I should share them on YouTube. And it was just like, you know, talk myself into it, finally do it.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, talking yourself in, like finally just going for it, because you want to do it forever, but that's how I was too. What about Kelly? Well, we'll wait for her.
I just had to tell my kids to shut the door. So basically, yeah, Amber and I, again, she kind of touched on how we met, and I don't think I ever would have started a channel if Amber and I kind of hadn't really talked about it, because when we first started talking, we did watch, you know, some on YouTube, and obviously we're in the groups, and we just had a lot of different thoughts than what we were seeing on YouTube. And we were just thinking, we could get on there and explain our side and our theories and our findings and our thoughts, etc. So I started with, and I don't even like to go back to these, but listening to Chris Watts's prison interview, because no one had really done that. There was a lot on NK and stuff like that, but with Chris, I listened to his prison interview and would pause and comment on it, and I still haven't finished it. It started a year ago. So that's where I started. And then Amber, I'm horrible at editing, so I did not like to edit. And then Amber's videos are so good. Her fiance helped her edit. So then eventually we just decided to start doing lives because it was a lot easier to talk to people quickly without having to edit. And that's kind of where we just kind of started working together by doing lives and really getting into the discovery and showing it on screen and going through it. Yeah.
Well, I'm with Amy. I'm glad you guys did. I love it. And you guys just like, you seem like you're like best friends in real life too. You know what I mean? And I love that. It's so like I could play it and be cleaning and feel like I'm just like chatting with my friends. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's kind of the vibe I feel like we want to keep. It's just like a genuine down to earth. Like if her and I could hang out daily and just hang out, like it would be easy basically, because it's just easy to talk to her and everybody's just been so nice. Like there's been like very minuscule accounts where we've come across like trolls or like bad people out there, and it's easy. Like if they come at us in comments, it's just like Kelly and I have each other to kind of like talk it out. Like not that people's comments really, linger on you at all, but sometimes it's just like, can you believe how rude people are? And it's just like her and me are like, well, I'm glad you're not rude. And I'm glad we have this together.
Glad you're normal.
To have the support sometimes.
Well, that's awesome. You got somebody there that you're like, at least I've got you, no matter how like crazy it gets. Okay. I said, I wrote down, okay, I have a lot of Watts questions because you guys are pretty much experts in my opinion, because you guys go through all of it. But okay, so we'll start there. Do you remember what you initially thought of Chris and how has that changed or evolved over time? We'll go back and forth. Like she can answer this one first.
I feel like I was recently thinking about like, what was my opinion of this whole case and specifically Chris? I think at first I was just like, you know what it was? It was that one mugshot, not even the mugshot. It's the pictures that Tammy and Coder took of him before he's basically cuffed and taken into custody, like that night after the polygraph, and he's shirtless and he looks completely dead in the eyes. It was that picture that I was just like, this guy is disgusting, like a monster. Like, how did this happen? I think that picture of him basically just encapsulates like everything that we find out, even if there are other people involved, which I think there are. I think that picture just shows how like soulless and cold that this whole case is.
Yeah, and he totally does. Like oh, what a creepy picture. It just gives you like the heebie-jeebies inside. Ugh. And hi, Save Robbie. Thank you for at least stopping by. And everybody in the comments is saying hi to him. And what about you, Kelly? What did you think initially? Oh yeah, and you didn't say, Amber. How has that changed? Do you still kind of like feel the same way about him, or?
I've gone like up and down with my opinion on him. I'm a very empathetic person to begin with. So no matter like what the situation is and who it is, I kind of am like, well, let me put myself in their shoes, or like what could have, conspired with that person, like on an inner level that could accelerate, whatever happened. But right now I'm just like even more like disgusted, only in the fact that like it's a game to him. I feel like as far as like writing people and saying little things here and there and working with Cato on the book and then taking back things that he said or blatantly lying. I'm just like annoyed with the pathological lying aspect of him. So I'd say that my opinion of him has gotten worse, and I have tried to have some sort of understanding. So it's not that I've just always thought of him as like this disgusting human. Like I've tried my best to like level with him and be like, you know, I've even gone back to his like childhood and been like, were there times he was bullied? And like, we can't find any accounts where in any shape or form was he like ever treated poorly by people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Kelly, when you first saw him? What did you think initially?
Well, I first saw him at the sentencing, and I thought before I knew who, I obviously don't know who he is, but I feel like obviously I know more now than I did almost 2 years ago when I saw him at the sentencing, or 3 years ago now. But I thought he looked sad at the sentencing, which was kind of weird when you look at some other. And now that I have studied it more, I don't think he was necessarily sad. I think he was just confused. I don't know. I still think he's a little confused with everything because I don't feel he acted alone. But kind of with Amber, my first thoughts of him were that it was mainly NK, because I saw that and then I immediately went and started listening to the NK's interviews on YouTube. I listened to her second one first, and I just was like, there is something off about this person, in my opinion. And I feel that she knows more, in my opinion. So honestly, at first, I felt that Chris was kind of taken a back seat to all of it and was manipulated by NK. Other people planned it for him, things like that. But as I've gotten more into it and more into research and kind of now seeing some of the family dynamics that are starting to leak out a little bit, I think that Chris played more of an active role. I still don't, in my opinion, I don't think it would have happened if he had not met NK. But I think Chris does not make connections with people. He's obviously a horrible human being and deserves to be in prison. Where honestly, at first, I was kind of doubting that, how much he even knew and played a role. I always thought he knew, but how much he willingly let happen, but he let it happen. And I'm with Amber with the lying. I think that's another angle, are there threats, etc.? I mean, if there was more than one person involved, is there some kind of group that Chris does feel silenced by? And that's part of it. But either way, the way he went with Shanann harming the girls, I mean, it's just, I don't know. He's awful, and he deserves to die in prison and be miserable.
And I think he will. I really do. I don't
Mhm.
think that he'll get out. Thank
No.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what you guys have been through as far as trying to get official documents and other information from the case. Kelly, you're first.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Amber's better at explaining this aspect of it than I am. But real quick, we did file for the Freedom of Information Act, right, Amber?
Yeah, that's fairly recent. I want to say that happened during Obama's presidency.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it was, regardless, it's recent within the last 2 decades for sure. But it just allows any American citizen to file and just get more information. It's basically to show transparency by the FBI. So you literally get documents from them, but we were basically denied anything related to this case, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And the only thing that I had seen you guys talk about was like, also, what did you guys get on the computer? Like whenever yeah.
Okay, so that was when so the first thing that was about a year ago, I think we did in July or June of 2020. We both put out applications to the Freedom of Information Act, and then were denied. They said it wasn't in the public's best interest or something about protecting privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But with the computer pictures, so I just put in a request for the discovery documents because I was always just using the one through Google, and it does have the 1,960, written pages. But when you request the full discovery from Weld County, you get more, the interviews, things like that. And most of it is available on YouTube, but I just wanted it for myself. So I requested that, and then somehow, and I still need to upload these. I've tried twice. There's thousands of pictures. So it takes a long time to try to get them like on a slideshow to upload, and my computer has not been working out with me. But basically what happened was I requested it and I was just downloading random things because it kind of, some have titles, some come like in a number or letter format. It's hard, you don't know what you're getting. So as I'm downloading, I noticed that there were two folders under my downloads, cup files, and then one was cup underscore files. And I clicked in, and it was basically like pictures from Facebook groups about the case, pictures of Shanann, some from Chris's childhood that I had never seen. There was a red car on a street, and the address was Wisconsin. So just little odd pictures. And like it had Amber's Facebook photo. It had a lot of, like I said, group posts from this group on Facebook called Chris Watts Let's Talk, some YouTube screenshots, things like that, that I know I didn't take. Like there was a picture of The Bachelor from, I don't watch The Bachelor, but it was The Bachelor, our chat told us, and then his parents. So I don't know. They were all saved October 12th and then October 14th of 2020. So it was after the Netflix documentary is when it said all these pictures were saved. And they're still on my computer. Some did have, I went through and blurred like if there were any names in the screenshots. That took forever. But I did that, and I do want to share them. I'm just a little nervous, especially because pretty soon after that, my channel started getting, or I guess our channel started getting not copyright strikes, but privacy strikes. So I just kind of have not really gone back into that. No, Larry, I don't watch The Bachelor. Never have.
And hi, Stephanie, and hi, Larry. I don't want to, I just don't want to interrupt them, but I see you guys, so I just put it up on the screen. But when you made that video, I could feel your nervousness. Like it was just so.
Yeah, I was terrified. I'm like, I just don't know.
So I don't know. I guess that
just
shows
made no sense. Like it sounds complicated, like trying to explain it, especially for those who didn't watch us kind of like talk you guys through it through our live. I'm going to try and link that video so that it kind of breaks down what Kelly was just trying to explain, because it sounds ridiculous, but like honestly, it is ridiculous because we don't really know how to explain it. Like it was just, she was going through stuff, opening them, and then it looks like a private investigator's kind of rough internet folder put together of the case, like screenshots from that black truck or black SUV, that just the common pictures that have circulated, like a lot of them regarding the mistress, and then just random things even on YouTube, comments that people have made. Like it was just, and then people started recognizing their own like houses in it. Like for me, there was a picture of a quote of the mistress saying to pawn Shanann's ring, even though at that point we have to remember that Shanann was still missing. Like she wasn't even dead, but NK was telling him to pawn the ring. Yeah. But anyway, so there was like a screenshot of my TV in my living room that I had posted to a really big Chris Watts group, just sharing that and expressing my thoughts on it. And then that picture was in the folder that she unveiled, like when she got the discovery files.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
And I was like, what? That's my living room. And then I was like, I went through and I'd seen that I had posted that, and that group has like over 30,000 people in it. And I'm like, okay, so somebody in that group took this screenshot and then added it to this like folder.
Too bad it has 30,000 and you couldn't like try to like figure out who may have done it or something. That is so crazy. Oh my gosh. I knew that they would be, I mean, think about it. All the things that like channels like you guys or Larry or just any channel uncovers, they want to use that information. It's
Mm-hmm.
useful to them. So of course they're watching, it's just
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
their own investigating that they'd be doing has already been done by some people in these groups.
yeah, making their job easier for sure.
Yeah.
So before I ask, like I have a bunch of other things, but just to get like, okay, what is your guys' theory about, I know it's not facts, so people, I know that, but still I would like to know, what do you guys kind of think happened that night? Just in general, your opinion of from start to finish.
I will say that my theory is not concrete other than I do not think he acted alone. What role I think that other people played, I don't know exactly, but I just do not feel that Chris planned and executed it totally alone. So that's one thing I'm pretty set on. I kind of feel that Shanann walked in at 1:48. I think Chris possibly was in the basement, and I think maybe she went upstairs, changed, and that's where I kind of get confused. I do think that she possibly got in bed and was maybe crying on the pillow for a little while, and then that is why, in my opinion, I think it's makeup, because when you look at that pillowcase, it looks like there's glitter and possibly even an eyelash or two. So
Yeah.
I do think she probably was up in her pillow and then possibly went downstairs. Now, this is where I kind of flip flop. I've also, one of my very first theories was that Chris was upstairs, and when he was saying he saw somebody on the monitor, he was talking about the mistress on the monitor that he saw and not Shanann. But now I kind of lean, I don't, not really on that one anymore. So I think that somehow something happened in the basement. I think the girls possibly were drugged. I think Bella did possibly, the drug, didn't cause her to pass away like it might have done to Cece. But I lean towards they were taken out of the house alive through the back. Shanann. I don't know if there was a weapon involved or something. I think that somehow they were out the back. And that there was some kind of altercation in the basement. Because when you think about Chris's prison interview as well, they're saying there was a lot of movement in that basement, Chris. What happened in the basement? And he's saying, oh, I either worked out or got trash bags. No, I'm not going to buy that one when the dog showed the most interest
Yeah.
there, and they didn't hit on the truck or the master bedroom.
Yeah,
So,
that is interesting.
yeah. I know
Thank
that
you,
doesn't really
Larry, so
answer
much.
it. So, Larry,
Sorry about that.
so you're
Yes,
good.
thank you so much. So, oh man, so you think that the call before was like, I wonder about that call. That's what, like, I just can't make my mind up about that, because I also think she was there, but that call, how it plays into the
Mhm.
beginning of the happenings and everything, like if she was drugged and things like that. But I don't know. What do you think, Amber, about what happened that night? What's your theory?
Oh, well, I will say when I first met Kelly, she was all about what she was just saying about the basement, and it really made me think about that aspect. So it's been helpful to kind of like make sense of things just from, when we talk to each other. Like that's why I was so glad to come on here and like when you tell us your theory and your thoughts, because it helps everybody's kind of collaborate together and kind of pieces the puzzle together. I definitely think something did happen in the basement. I think she came home, she was pregnant, just got off the flight, possibly had to go right to the bathroom, empty the bladders. She probably peeked in at the girls, but still looked at her phone on the monitor as to not really wake them. I think she was possibly in the middle of changing, and she was just like, where is Chris? Probably thinking that they'd have like their talk or whatever. about the money spent on Saturday night. And then she ventures down. I think it was almost like a lure. Like she goes out to the kitchen. The house was huge, so I'm sure she was just walking and then peeping in the living room. Where is he? I think eventually she just thought like he might be working out in the basement, goes downstairs. And I think that she was attacked in the basement. I don't think that she died in the basement, but I think that something physical, the altercation happened down there. The makeup on the sheets have led me to think that possibly it happened like while she was laying down, but I think that that's possible. She could have been crying at any point leading up to like Arizona, like leaving, and those were just old sheets that she had cried on. I don't know. But either way, I do think that she was taking out the basement windows out the back. And I think that it's possible she was sedated in some way, shape, or form, or with a gun kind of like forcing her way out. And she left alive or sedated, but I don't think she was dead. I think that everybody died at Servi. I think somehow in separate vehicles or in Chris's truck, he took the girls. At some point, Shanann is separated from the girls, I think, and handled by different people because I think other people were involved. And I think at the grave, that's where Shanann basically died. I don't think she was dead in that sheet that was out there. I think she was dragged in it because there's no like blood, or it doesn't seem to have like urine or anything like that on the sheet. It's just like dirt. And I think that like she just literally died right at the grave. Like her position, it's just kind of like she just fell to her knees and was laid out. Sorry to get so like graphic, but it's just like
that's okay. I want to hear your opinion. So it's okay. Whatever you want to say.
Now it's like getting scary because I'm thinking that the girls, you know, I don't know exactly how they died, but I don't think it was by their father with a blanket over their faces. I think that it's worse than we ever imagined, honestly.
Yeah, it's horrible to think about. Well, a couple things. You know, when you think about the girls' deaths, he didn't know how they died. We know that. But you think about like wasn't there scratches on Bella's butt or something like from and then hair up on the patch and these things that, oh my God, it just breaks your heart. Or like when Kelly said Shanann laying there crying on her pillow, like, oh my God, that just like killed my
Paints
soul
a picture.
Oh, horrible.
Definitely.
I can tell you guys are kind of like, which I love this, you're skeptical about what you will believe when you see it. And I love that. When you said that statement from NK was probably not really her, I was like, oh my gosh, because I was thinking the exact same thing. It just makes no logical sense. And then you were skeptical about the shadows and stuff. But do you guys believe any of any of the shadows were real or were from them? Like, you know, the first one that was found and then that last one that recently happened.
I do lean towards that Bella possibly went with Chris alive. Cece, that Cece, bless her. I mean, that really hangs me up on what exactly happened with her. And ultimately same with Bella. But I will say, yeah, it does look like I can see a shadow walk up to Chris and he picks it up. But would I have thought that if somebody didn't exactly point it out and say that's what it was? I don't know. Now, the most recent shadow where they're saying that, or, you know, people think someone's in the garage when Chris, I don't see all that personally. That's just my opinion. But yeah, no, I am not sold that like 100% that shadow was a child that he picked up and put into the truck. And I've said this before, in my opinion, I don't think that Nate's footage, I think, like, yes, a jury would have looked at Nate's footage, but I don't think it would have been strong evidence in court. A defense could have easily poked so many holes in that footage because ultimately you cannot see what is going on. So, and then you have Betty's husband saying that Chris had been parking his truck in the driveway recently, when Nate is saying that he never did. So that's a little bit of discrepancy from the neighbors. And that kind of makes me wonder if Chris was parking his truck in the driveway to say, hey, look, this is normal now. I parked my truck in the driveway, getting ready for how they would go out, when, in my opinion, they most likely went out the back. I've also speculated possibly they went out the front door to a car on the side and into a trunk. I don't know. But yeah, I just have a hard time believing they all went in the truck like he claims.
Yeah. It's a little truck too, you know what I mean? And I've had friends of mine point that out about like how little the back seat is and things like that, because they had new people with a similar vehicle, and it just didn't really make sense that Shanann was in there at their feet like that. But what I like, that killing the children passing away twice, like that is so bizarre to me, but I almost like believe it, or maybe think that they tried to. I think that they tried to, or maybe, in my opinion, maybe someone a little less strong than Chris, like, you know, a little weaker, tried and wasn't able, because it takes a lot of force to, you know, kill someone, however you're doing it, whether you're suffocating them, strangling them, like it takes a lot longer than you would expect it to take. I've heard people say that when talking about other crimes. So, and I wanted to ask y'all about something while we're on this subject, and I've saved it right here to show you. So we know during the interview she has on the long sleeves in August. We know that she has the missing hair, like, and that's undeniable. But I saw this recently. I've been like recommended this channel on YouTube, and it's on here. It's called News Scroll Hole, and she has a video where she says she thinks she has a scratch on her face. Have you guys seen that before?
I have not. That's interesting.
No, I've never seen that
This is
either.
the first time I've seen it.
You guys after have got to check it out. She has that, and then she also posted this. I don't know if this is true. It could totally be not, but it says, Dwayne Kessinger, father of Nicole and former boss of Chris Watts, at Anadarko with his new spouse, Donna. Have you guys heard anything about that? That his boss was with Kessinger's dad?
Oh, no.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but it's definitely something to look into. The scratch thing, that really, I don't know, that just bothers me. I wish that I could see like better quality, you know, photos or footage of that.
Yeah. I feel like if there was a scratch, it probably came from Bella, I hate to say. That's just my hunch, because it just appears like she's the only one that fought heavily as far as like description of what her body looked like in the autopsy in comparison to Shanann and Cece. I don't know. It's just,
I agree.
and oddly enough, the mistress never mentions Bella by name. She will say, she said Cece, I think, like one time, but she has to be like asked if she knows like their names, or like to say their name. And when she's describing the kids, she'll leave out Bella's name completely. Like she's like detached herself, or like distanced herself.
Oh, wow. And that's what you hear that all the time. I know you guys know that. In other cases, like you'll hear them say, oh, they you know, when the killer's talking about the victim, they try to put distance between it. Instead of calling them their name, they'll call them by like their pronoun, or, you know what I mean? Just,
Right. And I'm not saying, and that's what I was kind of agreeing with what Kelly said earlier, that she's not set on like what role each person or whoever's involved like played, because it's like up in the air. But even if, you know, the mistress knew more, she's still guilty of, you know, everything that happened with each and every one of these people, like Nico, Shanann, the girls. It's just like she had to have known more, regardless of what level. I think there's still some accountability probably.
And she lied a lot. She was never treated. By the way, happy birthday, Ronald the Duck Man. Your name cracks me up.
Happy birthday.
She lied like crazy. Like, and It's crazy because usually you would think in a case they know that the spouse is usually like the first person they look at. Well, then why not the spouse's mistress? Why was she treated like a victim from the beginning? Ah, okay, let me see what else. I was going out of order. Oh, okay. Thoughts on Anadarko's possible, like, do you think that they play a role in any of this? And I love Larry's theory that they don't necessarily play a role, but they wanted it out of the news, which is seems really logical to me. But what do you guys think?
So
I've heard
with that one, I do think they wanted it. They did not want the publicity surrounding what happened, what was found there. Unfortunately, we know 2 babies and a pregnant woman on their property, and they already had these violations, explosions in their history. There were no cameras, no log to say who was going in and out. So yeah, I do think that that is a part of kind of how it was so rushed, because big oil has a lot of money. Unfortunately, there is corruption, things like that. So yeah, I do think unfortunately that it being Anadarko was where they were disposed of has a role in how it was all handled.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You,
Stay for Love 21. Thank you. Appreciate it so much. What do you think? Kelly, do you think that, or Amber, do you think that Anadarko played a role, or what do you think about that?
I think the only role that they played is basically just what Kelly was basically saying. It was on their property. There were things that were supposed to be in place, like cameras and, just the fact that, like, even if he did dump the bodies on their property, like, how was he able to get out there? Like, obviously there was some sort of lack of security and,
Yeah.
People have to be accountable and businesses have to be accountable, and whoever owns the property has to be accountable for what happens on their property. So there was absolutely, like, they didn't look good. So when
Yeah.
the role of what they played, I think it's just like what Kelly was saying. Like, I think big oil might be the reason that we don't get any answers on this case, because they have so much power and they have so much that, like, they want to look good, and they didn't want, like she said, the explosion in 2017. This happened in 2018. Their stocks and shareholders were already upset about the explosion. They definitely didn't want anyone to know that this happened with children on their property. So
Yeah.
I do think that they have control even over the media. So they could have brushed this under the rug and not, like, C-Dub, she's definitely really active in the community. And she's from Colorado, and she basically has said that, like, she talks to people in her own state and they don't even know about this case. So if they're just watching their own local news or reading, local Facebook news and sites like that, then they're not even seeing, like, what had taken place on this huge corporation's property.
Wow. That's crazy. And I bet you they do have like a lot of pull with the media and things like that. That's really interesting. I hadn't heard anybody like mention how they could like persuade the media to not maybe talk about it as much, local news stations and newspapers and stuff. Okay. Well, the district attorney will be up for his reelection before, like, eventually. Do you guys think that if you did do maybe political ads or a billboard or something saying, like, we want real answers, this guy, are you going to put this guy back in or whatever, do you think that could be effective in maybe getting, like, closure on the case?
you go first, Amber, for this one.
I for sure think that using your free speech and freedom of protest is always a good thing. And I think that even if it was just one person who changed their mind about the district attorney, that would bring me so much joy. So I definitely think that there's a lot to be had with a little commotion like that, you know, and with social media, as long as you're doing it peacefully and like, you know, in a way that's like obvious that you're just trying to get this message out there. Like you said, like we want answers, or like, where's the rest of the autopsy, or why did it take so long for this or that to happen? Or, you know, even just something that said, why did the mistress search the Watts a year prior to their deaths on Facebook, or whatever, you know, worded obviously that makes in a way that makes sense. I think that there is definitely a way to, you know, hashtag it. And this case is bigger than anyone thinks. Like, even if I shared that I was going to go live with Kelly through Instagram, I noticed the hashtag Chris Watts was like the number one most popular, like before I even typed out Chris completely.
Oh, wow.
And so I just think that if it's in person, if it's done peacefully, that is more of a way to kind of like, might as well make our ripple in this case like spread, and in a, you know, way that makes sense. And it's like, we might as well do it, because sadly in some countries they'd be, you know, who knows what would happen if they decided to do that against like a political figure.
I think that we should really try to put something together, like even certain hashtags we could use when we talk about it, or just like eventually something big, like a political ad. I don't know. I just think that would be so amazing if we could like really put something together, because we just do not have enough answers. They didn't give us enough. I mean, Larry mentioned when I talked to him, did the interview with him, he mentioned like suing for the rest of the data, which I would love. I mean, something, because you know they have GPS exactly where those phones were, both of them. They know where their phones were. They don't have to, like, a ping is one thing, but if we knew the exact location, I just think it would put a lot to rest. And why haven't they? You would think they would want to put it to rest, which makes me think they're hiding something.
Yeah. And I've recently expressed on the CDT channel that these people who are involved, like the professionals that are involved in this case, their questions about the Watts case from media or whatever their career takes them, you know, even somebody that they rub elbows with on the street, the questions about this specific case is never going away for them. So, including the district attorney, I mean, there is always going to be somebody who's going to want to know, like, what was it like when you met Chris Watts? Like, because he's going to go down, like, unfortunately, as like the next Ted Bundy as far as like fame. So he might as well, the district attorney might as well just explain, like, why did the mistress search the family a year before, and why did she say that she didn't know Shanann was pregnant when we know that she looked at her Facebook? You know, like, these things are just going to haunt them. So he might as well come out and just like explain it if it's innocent, you know, like, just because people are always going to ask him and other people involved.
I 100% agree with you on that. Linnell, thank you so much. She said, put pressure on NK, free speech. They can't stop you from speculating about her involvement. She definitely is hiding things, but I think I've seen this somewhere, but you can tell by just how little information you can find and how hard that she maybe have hired someone to clean up the internet for her, like PR firm or something like that.
Well, her attorney specialized in, again, don't quote me, but you can, I'll have to find his name. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I think possibly Edward Hopkins or something. Could be wrong, but he, basically specialized in the social media aspect of it, like kind of helping somebody.
That makes sense.
In that
Larry
way.
said, I'm not done with Rourke. I'll be back on it. Yes. Just don't want to force content. And I know what you mean, Larry. I don't either. I think, yeah. Okay, let's see. What do you guys make of the whole red car thing?
Oh gosh. Now that's another one. I don't. I do understand how it can seem like there were more headlights than just Betty's, but I have never been able to say I see a red car. I do understand that, in my opinion, it does look a little bit like there was more going on than just Betty leaving. And then obviously the abandoned maroon Pontiac Grand Am that a caller called in and said, hey, I think this is connected to the Watts case. That was all a little suspicious. Yeah, and then they traced it back to these people. They went to their home in Denver, could not make contact with them. The neighbors were like, oh, we didn't even know anyone lived there. So yeah, I think there's, and then people were, in the discovery before redactions started happening, there are numerous people who said that when Chris was searching that touch-up paint, he typed, it had the word red touch-up paint, and now it's just he Googled touch-up paint at the Toyota dealership or whatever. But
Wow.
so yeah,
I heard you
I
say
can
that.
see why people think it.
Yeah, I heard you say that about the touch-up paint in one of your recent lives. Yeah, I didn't know that. And speaking of that, you also mentioned chicken on the grill, and I've seen that picture. I remember like a long time ago. So you can't get that now when you in the
not in the discovery, then 1,960 pages. No.
Now, was that the same night that he gave the girls cold pizza? It was, right? Like there was the night.
Well.
Okay, so and you're making chicken on the grill and giving your little babies cold pizza that they've done ate already and that's annoying. Amber, what do you think about the red car thing?
So for Nate's footage, even for the shadows, I'm not 100% sure on what exactly I'm looking at, as I think it's very, very tricky to really know 100%. But I feel as though I've always sort of seen the red car. Like, I know everyone kind of sees different things. So the perspective that I've always had is I first saw a red car. So I do think that the red car theme is kind of continuing also in this case in more than one instance. Like the Pontiac maroon that was Grand Am that was abandoned that Kelly referenced. That's a red car that's mentioned for sure in the case. And then a coworker talks about how he used to own a red Mustang. That's for sure, like in the case for sure. And then there's a picture of NK like taking a selfie in a car. And then behind her in the parking lot, you can see a red Mustang parked. And then there's like another point, basically like just the red car touch-up paint. So I think, and then there's a body cam footage of a cop. I'm not sure like exactly which one it was. I think it was after the 13th. But anyways, he pulls up to the house and you can hear his dash cam going. And he says something about a red Mustang with dealer plates. And he's talking like through the police radio. So that always stood out to me because if I don't know what the context of it was, but basically like that's all I caught from what that other cop was saying. And it's just kind of weird that like there was like the mention of a red Mustang and it had dealer plates. Yeah, so I do think that there is a red car. And I think in the footage of Nate's, it kind of speeds off quickly. Like maybe it's Betty, but like, why is she in such a hurry?
I swear I saw the red car too. Maybe, I don't know. Someone commented, I saw the red car. Damn it, there's a red car. No, there's a darn red car. I thought it said damn.
But then there's those who don't see it. So it's just so strange. Like, it's just one of those things. I mean, that footage, like Kelly said, is just, you could never like have a jury 100% agree on what they're looking at.
It's funny. Florida Bass Fishing said there's a lot of Southern accents in here. And they said, I'm texting or I'm driving and texting with the face with the big eyeballs.
So I left Bass Pro Shop. He would go there.
Okay, let's see. Oh, what do you make of those possible NK sightings?
I mean, I'm not totally convinced, and I don't know, just seeing her somewhere doesn't really answer any of my questions. I think she's still in Colorado, but it doesn't really get me any closer to the truth. unfortunately. Unless we can, give her some hypnosis or truth serum.
I'd love that. That would be great.
Yeah.
What do you think, Amber? And I was reading this too. Amber, what do you think? Do you think it was actually her or no, or doesn't really matter?
I feel like ultimately it doesn't really matter, even if it is. I honestly, I don't think that those pictures were her. And I've seen like other pictures in addition to that one, like before and after those ones came out. And like Kelly said, it's just like, okay, like we all know that she's not like vanished into thin air. Like obviously she's somewhere, and it's not like we're getting any further in our questions just by seeing her somewhere. Like she's obviously living life. Like hasn't been an obituary that's been legit about her.
Yeah,
so
that's been legit.
Like, it's like, yeah, she's a person, she's living out there. Like pictures not really going to do anything as far as like what we need. If somebody could maybe like ask her something, like if they can go up to celebrities with like a microphone and just kind of do their, I mean, if you're a journalist and stuff, don't they do stuff like that? Like,
yeah, absolutely. You could go knock on her door. If I lived close enough that I would totally do it. But you can, I mean, they can always say no comment, but you can try, Linnell says we can put a rover on Mars with live pics, but no clear shot of the red car. Sounds questionable to me. That's funny. And Larry, he said there is a red car, but it comes from Betty's. But I'm getting ready to do like, I was talking about this with someone anyways, do like a live model. I'm going to get like a poster board and get the dimensions of the house and the driveway and try to do like a 2-scale model, because I think there's a bush right there. So I think it would be a lot better if we could look at it like that and like really, because if the car goes behind the bush or in front of it, or you know what I mean, or the tree, the way that I can't recall exactly, but I want to try that.
No, definitely. And something that I've kind of said to Kelly, like for a while, is like, everyone always wants to know, like, could they have parked on that gravel spot? And like, to me, I would always thought like, well, if Betty went to work and they came from around the block and just parked in Betty's driveway, knowing she had already left, you know what I mean? So like when Larry says like, oh, I think it comes from Betty's driveway, like I think that anybody could park in that driveway after have already scoped out the area and been like, she left in the morning to go to the gym already. Let's pull up, park here. Like, I don't think the gravel spot really has any merit as far as if there was another car there.
Well, I have a good point to that. I wrote here to ask you guys, does she even own a red car, Betty? I mean, I thought she owned like some kind of SUV or truck or something like that. Or do we know?
All I know is what I've seen. Just there's a picture of Shanann and one of her friends, and they're in like a selfie in front of Betty's. They're on the sidewalk, but you can see Betty's garage in the background. There's 2 vehicles, and neither are red. So one was like I don't know, like a brownish kind of color. But yeah, cream, yeah. So gray. I'm bad with colors, but yeah, it kind of like they were not red. Is the bottom line? No.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I think that, I do believe that this was premeditated. And when you listen, and with the red car theme, when you are watching Chris, Nate, and Coonrod in Nate's living room, you see red cars on Nate's footage. Could it be like something or nothing? I mean, could those cars just be random passerbys, whatever? Or, I mean, could those other people have kind of been casing the area? I don't know. But you do see red cars on his footage. And then, if, say, Chris watched Betty's pattern and watched the way and the time she left, maybe they did feel safe bringing that car there because, it was kind of facing where there wasn't, it was a street right in front. There was no house directly in front. They were on the side. So, but yeah, the red car is very split. Even you can tell in chat too.
And if she could do all the time. Wait, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, I do think it's important to note that it seems as though one of the dogs kind of got excited and possibly alerted over near the gravel spot.
I can't remember. I don't remember that. I need to go back and watch that because I recently had that video up too. I'll go back and check it out. Thank you, Nikki, so much for helping there. And a couple of my other friends are in here. So you do whatever you have to do. Don't ever feel like you have to. Yeah. And then Bartwan says, why do you think Nate has been so quiet? He would have had CCTV footage for days when NK came to the house and Chris's movements.
That bothers me. And that, I don't know. Mexi, I'll say it because Mexi announced that he is in contact with Nate's mother, and she offered to allow him to come in and do an interview with him. So I am really curious if camera questions will be on the table between Mexi and Nate's mom. I'm really curious about that.
I'm really curious too. And all these things, like, did you guys see, I thought about Mexi as soon as I had seen this, but someone had said that there were police there yesterday and dogs and stuff.
I heard that was not true.
Someone came out yesterday and said, someone on my team said they live in the neighborhood and there was police there all day. And, well, I mean, they would have the answers to a lot of questions that we would have like that, you know what I mean? Or like the September woman lady, why? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, just explain that. Like, why can't Nate just explain, like, make his own little video? Like, it would go viral or whatever.
Yeah.
Even just like make a point to just say, like, on this day, September, give the date, time, everything, and just say, I called the cops or I called the Rusex. Didn't he call the text or call the Rusex first?
I think that they got a notification first from the camera system and then got in touch with Nate possibly. But I could be wrong. I'd have to double check.
Right. Like he might as well just explain it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that way, like we don't have to even say this whole spiel right now and be like, I'm not 100% sure. Like he could just come out and say, yes, after the case was wrapping up, he was already in custody. The plea deal was not signed yet, but I did notice that in September I saw this, blah, 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 and this is what it was. Like, why can't that just be explained? There's been times in history where people have come out about something and explained it,
Yeah.
Yeah. Bartwan makes a great point, though. He said he was either paid off or told to be quiet. We don't know who's threatened him, or been like, you better keep your mouth shut. And if this ever sees the light of day, well, we'll kill your parents, or who knows? You know what I mean? People, I don't know. And Dave said all of my favorite girls. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
I almost feel like maybe it's possible that footage and that incident has to do with another open case, and I'm just being hopeful and maybe just theorizing, but possibly he can't comment about stuff like that because it could be open, maybe.
I hope so. That would be
another
great.
point on the Nate conversation. I want to know if the interview that he agreed to with when he spoke to Baumhofer, I think they spoke on October 24th. And that is when they were coming back to basically say to Betty, we see these extra lights. Could this have been you? And they say, yeah, well, she left to go to the gym. Well, then that's when he talks to Nate. And Nate tells him he has video of Chris leaving via the side gate. And in my opinion, that probably was when he was parking the Lexus down the street. He didn't want to open the garage door, going in and out of the garage. And so even to get into the garage, and he was leaving. So there is video that they saw where Nate would leave out of the side gate. And Baumhofer says, well, did you relay this previously? And Nate says no. And he asks if he would agree to do an interview. And he says, yeah, and I want to say they schedule it for October 31st, but we don't ever hear if that interview happened with Nate or not.
I wonder if it happened if he was already going to plead guilty, if they would have canceled it.
Right. Yeah, because October 31st is when Discovery said that they asked him to come in, I think at like 1 p.m.
Thank you so much, Tiff. Tiff MF and hold on, I lost. Linnell said, on video you see Betty's lights come on and pull out, turn left. At the same time, CW pulls in the driveway, and then the car pulls out exact same time but goes straight. I want to go check that out again now after this conversation. I got to see. And I really think like a model to scale would be so helpful to really, and also of the backyard and the windows and like the fence and stuff to see how. Yeah.
Yeah, and C-Dub measured the gravel, and I think she said it was 6.5 feet across, so it wasn't as small as it looks.
Okay, good. That's good to know. I'm gonna write that down real quick.
Yeah, I'll message you when I'm positive, but I want to say I'll double check with her. But I think she said it was 6.5, but I'll message you for sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You guys can help me figure that out. Like we can, work together and try to figure out the model. Bartwan says he's convinced when Mexi speaks with the mom, I have no doubts Nate will be present.
Yeah, that'd be. Yeah, because I would think like Nate almost would want to oversee the conversation at this point in a way, especially if he has been asked to not speak. Or
yeah, I'm really curious.
So I think it'll be telling if this interview does happen and Mexi's talking to Nate's mom and she doesn't want to comment or can't comment on certain things. Because the chat, if it's a live interview, the chat is going to be going crazy.
Yeah, we'll need to know all these types of like details and like the little things that happen.
Yep.
We'll be picking it all apart too, like every.
Yes. Fascinating.
It's funny how we in true crime will take like a regular like 2-sentence statement and like really look into like she used this word instead of that word. That has to mean something. That's funny. Okay, let's see. I'm pretty much done with the questions about Chris. Oh wait, I had one more that was funny, and then I was going to ask a couple other little things. Yeah. In the prison, how that they found the Vaseline and his underwear and all of that stuff. That is so weird to me. It makes me think. I seriously think he's probably like seeing guys too now. You guys think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if he thinks he's never getting out, and a lot of times I hear that that's what ends up happening, like for lifers like that, even if they weren't involved in stuff like that before they go to prison, it's just kind of like, natural urges and, whatever, maybe they have like relationships because they're with the same people every day and they just get through this like horrendous ordeal of prison life together. So I do think he has a sex addiction as well. So I do think those could possibly, I'm leaning towards those rumors being true.
Same here. And I don't have anything. I don't care who you love. You love whoever you want. And I'm here for it. But it's interesting, especially with the rumors involving like Nicole Kessinger and all the stuff they might have been up to together. Let me see. I got a couple things. Melissa, thank you so much. I love you. You are so sweet and awesome. And then Angela said, do I have an email address? I do. It's in the description. And I put y'all's channel there too. And then Amy, thank you so, so much. Mm-hmm. I knew who you were before I even clicked because I couldn't see your name, but just by your picture now. I think I'm used to seeing you mod for Bartwan or Larry or somebody, but thank you so, so much. I appreciate it. And then, okay, let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, that girl said that no, that Dylan guy just had like extremely dry skin, like he
he was real dry.
Listen, anything's possible either way, whatever.
Yeah. No, I think I think they're probably what they're. I mean like we were saying, I don't care who you love, who you want to be with, whatever. That's who cares about that stuff? But yeah, I think even if he wasn't, into men necessarily before, I think once you get in there, you still have needs and you get comfortable and stuff happens.
and they were like really close friends, and they probably
Yeah.
thought it would
Mhm.
stay secret. And Larry, Amy is amazing. You're right. And then
He is.
Bartwan says, he may have been bi and was off to a slow start. He is a people pleaser, no judgment. He may have always been, and
Mhm.
just not wanted to. It's weird because like in Chris Watts, like his age range and also mine a little bit, like, but as I'm 30, 31, but the kids that are like 21 these days, the gay kids they don't get picked. People are more accepting now, and they're
Yeah.
so much more kind. But when we were like, I don't know how old you guys are, but when I was in high school and stuff, like the gay kids were tormented. It was horrible. And
Well, yeah,
that's the
plus
time
Chris
that
is in
he
the
grew up.
South. Yeah, yeah. And he was very like his family was very much like churchgoers. So if this is something that's always been about him, but he just never could be that person, then I understand. I do think, oddly enough, that Chris has like a more loyal stance when it comes to men. He was very much like close with his dad for sure. He had that one friend from childhood, Mark, like even into their 30s, they stayed really close and they knew each other from when they were kids. At one point, he apologizes to Agent Coder about, just how everything went down and like lying to him or something. He never once apologized to Tammy like the way he was with like Coder, and he's very much like protective of his one coworker, starts with his T. Like he never mentions him in the entire prison interview. For some reason, it seems like he just has like more of a loyalty and like connection with men, whereas with women, he's like, obviously he cheated on Shanann. He never really was a dater. He didn't date in college, so it's like it's just strange to never have him like have like a prom date picture or something like that, because like you would think that would just be a part of like normal like dating scene for guys. And even in college, like how are you not bringing girls back to your like room? Like his roommate basically said he never dated, but it's just he's just very loyal to men, I've noticed.
That is weird because, like that apologizing to him and stuff, like, ooh, that's a good point. Because he surely didn't apologize to Tammy for the 5 hours he lied to her on the lie detector test, or however long the test actually lasts.
And he was so cold, to Shanann, we've seen in text messages, but then to somebody that he had just met, like Agent Coder, like he's not your friend, he's not your family. In fact, he's trying to like put you away for like ever. And you're apologizing about like lying and stuff. It was just the strangest like thing, like why he has more respect for men than women. Like something's very, deep rooted with that.
I wonder, like, how, like, that plays into how he was raised and stuff, and how
I wonder too.
the experience, like his mom, which I'm not bad mouthing his mom or anything, but we've all watched these interviews and stuff, so it's just a curious thought of mine.
Yeah, and I mean, in documentaries about killers, they do go into their childhood. That's a normal area to explore, but for sure, they go into their past.
See, I was showing my son's dad last night actually this thing that was talking about studies they've done in around spanking, and we live in like the South pretty much in the country, and that's a normal thing to us. Like that's a normal thing around here, but I know it's not good for kids, and they have a lot of evidence that shows even not necessarily hitting with an object, but just like simple swatting can like you have a higher risk for anxiety and all these different things. So what happens when you're a child, whatever it is, spanking or dysfunctional parents or whatever, it really can affect the way that you are as an adult. It's not everything. You can,
Right.
beat your circumstances. You don't have to be a victim to them, but it's a huge part.
Yeah, I mean, I've just raising my two kids. They're both, I mean, my daughter, especially, she's on the sensitive side, and just dealing with her, it's like you really could be so easy to traumatize a child at a young. I mean, it's just sad the kind of stuff that goes on. And then my husband, I've mentioned this, but he's in the social work field, and yeah, I mean, most of his clients who he sees, mentally ill people, homeless people, not all, but, and it's not an excuse per se, but you go back to their childhood. He sees and not saying it doesn't happen, but proportionately, there are way more people who came from a very broken childhood, broken homes, abuse, things like that. It's
That's
that.
so sad. That is sad.
And
Oh my gosh.
oddly enough, we know that Chris even says that he was never really like physically reprimanded as a child growing up. Like it wasn't like they reverted to spanking or like doing the belt or something like that. Like, so it's just interesting to note, like, even though he wasn't brought up like in a violent, like disciplinarian type of environment, like the crime that he's alleged for is horrendous, violent. Yeah. And even, I mean, even and especially Bella.
That, oh God, that's just so heartbreaking. And which he may have grown up in like a dysfunctional home as far as like drugs. I'm not sure. I know there's different things that they say, but Bella and how violent that was. It's interesting that the autopsies don't mention certain things. Like you said this in your live, and I remember on Dr. Phil, matter of fact, I have a TikTok from like 6 months ago about the case, and I mentioned that her collarbone was broken or whatever Dr. Phil had said, but it's not in the autopsies, but he was with Sandy and them. So I'm wondering if he knows exactly what's happened, and it's just, that is so, I don't know. And then him sealing the autopsies, like, I don't know if we'll ever actually know the truth because of that. And I don't know how he was able to do that. What do you guys think about that?
I don't understand how he was able to ask. I thought, he asked for the girls' medical records to be sealed. I don't understand that. And just real quick, talking about childhoods, wouldn't you kind of like to know where the mistress came from? She's the one he was the closest to. He was spending the nights there for 5 weeks before the crime. They didn't even find out about that until February. But yeah, we know that her parents were divorced, and obviously nothing against that, but it makes you wonder what caused the divorce. Was there, not all divorces are, bad, but some are. So it just makes me wonder her background a little bit too.
I would love to know. To know that. And the spanking thing, just so nobody like gets me twisted. I am not the expert. I don't know. I can show y'all the TikTok I saw. It was like Dr. Drew talking about it, but he was talking about actual studies that had been done. But he did say that when you like hit a kid with an object, that it is so traumatizing that a part of their brain can't even comprehend in the moment, and it completely shatters. I forget what he called it, but it's something in their brain to where it definitely does traumatize them, hitting them with stuff. But I lost train of thought. I was gonna say something about that. But anyways, it doesn't matter. So you can spank your kids if you want. They're your kids. You know what I mean? I'm not judging you if you do or anything. I know plenty of people around me that think it's okay, and you can raise your kids how you want.
I was
don't
spanked.
Yeah.
I was probably spanked the most out of my 2 siblings, so
doesn't surprise me.
I'm not in prison, and I have no criminal record. So yeah, I definitely agree. Like, however you want to do things. And here's an example: Chris Watts never was spanked, and look what ended up happening. I mean, is everything reverted back to spanking? Maybe, maybe not, but still, I think it's interesting.
Bartwan said that he doesn't envision how bones couldn't have been broken though, and I don't either.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to extend on the thought that you guys were talking about, like the medical records, and obviously the rest of the autopsies for the kids are sealed. And to me, it just kind of goes back to, like, I hate saying it, but I think that it's way worse than what we think and have been told. So that's why it's sealed.
Well, I agree with you. And I think that unless we can get, like, I don't know, sometimes I wonder, is there hope in even, but there is, because if we make more noise, we can make change. Like you were saying earlier, Amber, protesting and stuff. But I don't know. It just makes you feel like, it's just gross. Let's see. It's so hard for me to keep track, like reading these, talking to you guys. I'm sorry. You guys know.
You're
Fake
doing
cake.
amazing.
Oh gosh, thank you. Well, I'm like, I was so nervous. I get so nervous every time, especially if like I like the people, I like watching them and stuff. It's just weird in that parasocial relationship. Like, I know that you don't know me, but I feel like I know you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I watch you. I feel like I felt you're just amazing. You ask great questions, and you're just so nice.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Bartwan said, I think there may have been fingernail scrapings that may have given someone up.
You would
Well,
think.
especially if that scratch on her face was actually real.
Mm-hmm.
Dave said, if you raise your arms, your shoulders narrow. That's the only way they could have gone into the tank. And I think did Chris say that?
Yeah, he said he held them by their wrists and they went in feet first. But he also explained the hatch as being way bigger than it actually was.
Those poor children. It's just like, God, and these people, I did an interview recently, and it's someone else that really hurt their kids. It was actually Victoria Rose Smith and her stepmom, or no, foster mom, who was going to adopt her. She was physically abusive and she killed her. And it's like, wow, I just wish I don't know. I don't agree with the death penalty, but if you hurt kids, I almost do. I don't know. How can you be so disgusting? And like thinking about how Chris talked about, like when we were just talking about him explaining the hatches were bigger, didn't he say something about like the noise that it made and like different, like when he dropped them in or something like that? Like he talks just so cold about it.
Was that in a letter, Kelly, to Cadel?
I think that was in a letter.
Or was it just something Cadel said he said?
I don't remember now for sure. I gotta double check.
It definitely came from that book, though. I know exactly what you're talking about. But before he's like arrested, he says like that it wasn't hard to get them in, which we know is a lie because of the size. He explains the hatch being way bigger than it actually was. They definitely did not go in like foot first, the way he described, like with their wrists being held and dropped in, because that wouldn't have been like possible given the size. So it's just like his account of everything doesn't really match what seems to have taken place, probably.
I wonder what made him really put them in the tanks. Like what made them like,
yeah, just to like get them out. They maybe no time to dig a hole. Maybe it was just like no one will find them ever in there. Like I feel like whoever put them in there just thought like they'll never find them here. Like, and I almost feel like maybe they allowed Chris to seal the records because they know deep down that he didn't act alone. And if he goes to prison and all this information's out about like the small details of how horrific it was, you know, he's even more of a target than he already is, having like children involved in his crime. But if it was like really detailed and came out as like the truth of like what took place, I think that maybe they know that it wasn't just him. So to kind of help him out, they're like, yeah, we'll seal that up if you sign this.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. And I want to show this picture one last time, and you guys don't forget to look up this channel, News Scroll Hole, and see what you think about that, because that under the fingernails thing makes me think. And we know, I mean, come on, you're wearing a hoodie in August in Colorado, and you're either on drugs or you're hiding some kind of like scratches. And that's just my opinion about it. It makes no sense at all, especially when all of her photos she's half naked. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
that's why it
uh,
bothers me. We don't get a description of what she wore to the park interview. I would love to know what she wore to her first park interview where her dad and her dog were present with her. And then her second interview where Kovac says, sorry, we have to do this again. We just need this video. But yet they will not release the video to the public. What was she wearing? What was her demeanor like? What did she look like? I want to know. I want to know. But will we? So many, I mean, not so many, I know um, True Psych Ward, Plunder, they've tried to get that video. Her second interview, they won't release it to them.
And I'm
no,
like really concerned why we don't have like the dash cam or even like the any like footage or camera, even like the cameras that they wear like on their vests or whatever of when NK is like being driven to the police station by CBI. Like why were they like spend all that time alone like in the car and we don't have any like we don't know what they were talking about basically. It's not transparent.
we should have.
We should.
It should be. There should be nothing to hide, nothing they shouldn't show. If they did their job right and there's nothing covered up, why wouldn't they? It makes no sense.
Because we have Chris going from, from after he's arrested, going to jail, and the Kenny Chesney song is playing. That one that's like, can't we all get along, drink a beer or whatever. And there's Chris, and I just did not realize I sang a little bit. Oops, but yeah. So it's like, so we have that, but we do not have in case. Like, yeah, with Amber, what were they talking about? Why didn't she drive, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, we have Ronnie going to the motel, Debbie said.
Bartwan said oil is caustic, so he realized no prints or DNA. And I've thought about that before. That was one of the things that I thought maybe why he did it was to get rid of any evidence as far as DNA and stuff like that under their nails or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diamond Girl said, you sing cute, CDT. You did sing cute.
Well, thanks, but no. Goodness.
Okay, well, let's see. I have a couple of things I was going to ask you guys that aren't really what's, but it's just about your channel. I said you were possibly talking about doing other cases, and I saw you've kind of touched on Alexis Sharkey, and Amber, you have a video on Scott Peterson. I know that. So how do you guys feel about that? Are you going to go in that route, or are you just going to dig deeper into the Watts, or what do you think?
We have talked about this, and we are going to eventually touch on other cases, but we've just, when we start going into other cases, none of them, well, I don't know as much off the top of my head at this point about any other case like I do the Watts. So, and then just the questions with the Watts, there's just a lot for me. But yeah, I do want to go in other cases. I think Amber does as well. And yeah, Alexis Sharkey, it's been silent since they've ruled her death, homicide by strangulation. It's been silent. But yeah, I'm interested still. I did a little on Darlie Routier. That one has a lot of emotion. But yeah, Amanda, I'm the same. I'm not quite over Watts, but yeah, we would like to definitely go to other cases. And Scott Peterson is one that, looking at it with fresh eyes, but we won't go there now. What do you think, Amber?
I think that the other cases that I know like a lot of details about are really old cases, like just Marilyn Monroe. Like I've always thought that she didn't die of suicide. I think that other people were involved in her death, but they're just like kind of cases that it's like I wouldn't know if like Kelly would want to like collab with me on it, or it's just like once I get down to like what I'm going to do for the week, like as far as lining up like times to do lives and research and stuff, it's just kind of like I go wherever like my passion is or whatever I feel like, and I have to do things that like I feel like a lot of passion behind, and like it's just the Watts kind of is like the only thing that like keeps me like, I don't know. It's just like I have like all the answers to other cases besides Scott Peterson. Like I think that one still has room for me like to kind of bounce around with. But we don't have the
Well,
answers in the Watts one, so I feel like I'm like trapped.
That's how
I
I feel.
love I love that like part of what you want to do, what you're passionate about. That is just like, I love it. I think that's really awesome. And I think you need to keep doing it then. Someone said, have I heard of Skylar Neese? I have. That was one of my first TikToks because I'm from West Virginia too. And you're up in Morgantown, I think you said. But yeah, her best friends had killed her and they were in high school. Have you guys heard of that case?
I don't think
Oh my gosh. I'll have a
so.
TikTok. I'll show you. I'll send it to you later so you can get some of the story. But they were all over social media. Apparently, they took her like an hour away. They're all like 16. And they told her, they counted to 3 and they started stabbing her like over 50 times.
Wow.
And they
Wow.
literally would make posts on like Facebook that would be like, oh, and we really did go on 3. And like, weird stuff like taunting. It was really crazy. I did a TikTok about it, which is really bad quality, but I'll still send it to
Yeah,
you so you
I'd
can
love to
see the
see.
story. And Alexis Sharkey, I've covered her a little bit too, and I think it is really interesting that her friends come out and say she's been strangled and woken up, on the bathroom floor, and then next thing you know, cause of death, strangulation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's just a matter of time before they arrest him. I really, really do.
Yeah, that case, they have a Ring doorbell footage. There was camera footage at the business nearby, so it's odd that there's been no movement.
Well, once they do,
Yes, it'll be
the
fast.
arrest affidavit will come out really soon once they take him to court, and we could get some of that information because that would be really interesting to have.
Mhm.
And the Kendrick Johnson case, which I did a video about, and it's not been viewed much, but I don't care. I'm still going to keep talking about it because it is so important to me that people I just think it is such a blatant cover up. You cannot tell me anything else. And well, I have this picture here of, look at this. So this is how they found him. And supposedly he fell down in there. How did the shoes end up there? You know what I mean? And he was after a different pair because there was a shoe up by his head. But that makes no sense to me. Here's his dad trying to get in the mat because the mat is only
Wow.
15 inches wide and his shoulders were 19 inches wide. There's no way. And the
Mm-hmm.
last thing I'll show you guys, there's the mats, but
Mhm.
he was in that one on the far right. But on the wall there was blood, and it's a school. They clean schools, and the blood wasn't tested against anyone else. They tested against Kendrick. It was blood, but it wasn't his. So then they didn't test it against anyone else, and just so happens the suspects, their dad is an FBI agent, and it just reeks of a cover up in every way. And I'm hopeful that something will happen with that one, though, where it's been opened back up recently. I think that hopefully
Yeah.
something will happen. Let's
I'm
see.
so glad it was reopened.
Me too. And then I heard you say people are getting threatened about it. Yeah, people like that's creepy. When I saw that, I was like, okay, it could be like just a troll, which probably it is, but also maybe it couldn't be.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't ever know. I covered a case that was local to me about a 17-year-old pregnant girl who, well, actually, no, she had just had her baby when this happened. And she her baby was still like needing her for just now had it. And she went missing, and it ended up that like the boyfriend and his cousin who he was also sleeping with had taken her out of state and all this really horrible stuff. And I thought about when I was covering that, it's local. It's scary when you're talking about this stuff. You don't know who's gonna see it and want you to shut up. And that's
Yeah.
creepy.
Mhm. Yeah, and then another one was Megan or Heidi Broussard and Megan Firamuska, and I think it was Texas. Yeah, Texas. And
Yeah.
she murdered her best friend and took her baby.
That's
Yeah,
an interesting one.
and she's awaiting her trial, but I think because of COVID, it's been pushed back. But that one I want to follow.
I think that a lot of people that case, I think it seems to have a lot of interest. also did a TikTok on that. I've got like a whole like library in my head of these cases, but um I had people that knew her reach out to me afterwards, and the video got like a ton of views. It was one of my top ones, like over 200,000. And
Nice.
people are really into that case. If you guys covered it, I think that would be really, really good. People would love that. People love your videos, anyways. Miss Gigi said baby snatcher. Yep.
Yeah. But she had been fake. She was in the room when Heidi gave birth and had a
Yeah,
fake
it's
belly.
really creepy.
Very sick.
But I
It's
think
crazy. No,
it
you go
was.
ahead.
I think she suffered from a pregnancy loss, and then it just turned into like an obsession of like having a baby, like, and to tell her boyfriend or whoever it was, like, that it was theirs or something strange. I'm not sure about the details, but that was just crazy when it came out in the news.
That's really sad if that's like how it started. That I'm the same. I have empathy for people I hate. I can feel bad if they're getting like, and that's awful. But still, what did they say? Let's see. Let's start a somebody blow the top GoFundMe. First person to tell even 80% of the truth.
Yeah.
You did it all. Yeah, that would be awesome. Let's see.
I'm gonna
Okay.
jump into the chat, like, just because my little one's crying. I think she needs her mom. So, but I want to keep listening. I didn't want to like interrupt, but I'm just gonna hop in the chat and then listen to you guys. I just wanted to thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on so much. I loved it. And I really don't have like a ton left. I'm done with what I wrote down, but I was going to ask you, I don't think that you said anything about this. What do you think about those tire tracks? Do you think that they were from that night from them, or what do you think about that?
Go ahead,
I just think that she was taking out the back for sure, even before I ever saw those tire tracks. That adds to like the mystery and kind of like possible like circumstantial evidence, if you could say that there were tire tracks back there. But I've always felt, even before that photo circulated, that for sure Shanann was taking out the back. So I just think I'd have to see like the back on the day of the 13th to know that those tire tracks were from Sunday night into Monday morning.
Yeah. Someone just had a good idea. If someone was to start a fund to hire a private detective to investigate this case, I would contribute. That would be a really good idea, to have somebody look into it a little. But my baby's crying too, so I'm pretty much done. He came out here. Do you want to see if anybody has any questions in the chat?
Either way, I mean, we can end it or whichever.
Okay.
I just appreciate you having us on.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Whenever you wrote back, because I had messaged that like weeks before, and I was like, well, they probably are busy or whatever. And then you wrote back, I was like, yes, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm working on getting back to emails. That's not my strong suit. So, yes, but I'm glad we connected.
Thank you, Larry. We love you too so much. Yeah, message me anytime. You're welcome on here anytime. Thank you for coming. It was like awesome. I felt like I was just like sitting talking to some friends. It was really laid back. I loved it. Oh, thank you, Baked Cake, so much. So yeah, I appreciate it. And if you ever need anything, or hit me up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
vice versa for sure. So, and I'll get back to you on the gravel dimension for sure. So
yeah, definitely. And when I'm working on that, I'll keep you updated along the way. I'll give you little updates. Amber, thank you so much. Oh, Linnell, thank you. And thank you everybody for watching and being so awesome. Like, I love it. It was awesome. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody in chat, and we'll talk some other time for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Kelly. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you, Veronica, so much. Jonesy, bye, best friend. Oh, thank you, Nikki. And thank you so much for helping everyone who helped. I appreciate it. I love you guys so much. Stephanie, Amber, Nikki, Dave, all of you. I love you. I think that was all that was in here today, but I love you guys. Oh, Dave, thank you. You're next. You're in the hot seat next for sure. I have it like that's the only plan I have next. So, well, interview. I have lots of little ideas, but anyways, thank you guys. Bye.